Tov, today's daf yomi is Bava Basra Ayin Ches, Bava Basra 78. Today's daf yomi is dedicated for a shmir for the Chayalim, Matzah for the Shvuyim Yeshua for Am Yisrael. This is Torah. Also, we remember, since this is being studied on September 11th, remember all those murdered September 11th in New York and the Pentagon, and also in Pennsylvania where the plane crashed. So the Mishnah tells us, Hamocher es achamor, anyone who sells a donkey, we're on 78a, Ayin Ches Amud Aleph, Hamocher es achamor, somebody who sells a donkey, will mocher caleb, did not sell the caleb. The caleb refers to the certain utensils or accessories associated with the donkey, which we'll talk about in the Gemara. So if you sell the donkey, you have not sold its caleb. Whereas Nachum Amadi Omer, no, when you sell the donkey, machar caleb, you have sold its utensils. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, pamim mechorim, pamim beina mechorim. Rabbi Yehuda says sometimes they're sold, sometimes they're not sold. So this is a three-way dispute, although some say Rabbi Yehuda is not arguing with the Chachamim. How so? What does Rabbi Yehuda mean? Sometimes it's sold, sometimes it's not sold. Let's say the donkey is in front of the person who's going to purchase it, and the utensils are on the donkey. And the purchaser says to the seller, "Sell me this donkey," meaning to say, he specifically says, points to this donkey. Then the utensils, the accessories are sold with the donkey. But if he says, is this your donkey? Then in Kelev Mechorim, then the utensils are not sold. And the Gemara is going to explain why. But first, the Gemara says, the Chiddush of Ula, Amar Ula, comes along Ula, and Ula says, Machokas Pesak V'Diskia. The dispute between the Chachamim, where the Chachamim say the accessories of the donkey are not sold, and the position of Nachum Amadi, who says the accessories of the donkeys are sold. This dispute is about the sak and the diskia. These are the accessories that are used to carry things on the donkey. That's where, and the kumni. That's where they argue. That's where the Chachamim say it's not sold. And Nachum Amadi says it is. Tanakama says we're not including that in the sale because Tam Chamor or Kovkai. Baseline, the donkey is meant for riding. So therefore, these items are not part of the donkey, and so therefore it's not sold. Whereas Nachum Amadi Savar Stam Chamor L'Masaikai, it says a baseline donkey is meant for carrying, so they're included. Avo Okef Umardas. But if you're selling the donkey and it has on it the stuff for riding, the saddle, the cushion, the straps, even the Chachamim would say it's sold. Everybody would say it's sold. That's the position of Ula. That's the Chiddush of Ula, that the only dispute is by items used to help carry, but items used to help ride, even Chachamim would say it's sold then. So the Gemara says, let's challenge Ula's Chiddush from a Brisa. It says in the Brisa, Meisve Chamor V'Kelev Ani Mocher L'cha. I'm selling you the donkey and its accessories. If you sell, I'm selling you the donkey and its accessories. And you sold to it also all of these items, the saddle, with the cushion, with the straps. But you have not sold the accessories used to help carry, the sack, the diski, and the kumni. But if you said I'm selling to you it and everything that's on it, then we're going to say everything is sold. So the Gemara says that what's the reason why in this case you sold Taimad Amar Chamor B'Kelev? What's the reason why you sold the saddle? Because he says the donkey and its utensils. That's where you've purchased the saddle and the cushion. But if you hadn't specified that, then it wouldn't have been included in the sale. So it's a question on Ula. Because the Chachamim say, according to Ula, even the Chachamim would admit that it's always included in the sale. Mara says, no. It's the same law would be, even though he doesn't say the donkey and the utensils. That even though he didn't specify, be included nami okef and mardas mechurin. The okef and the mardas, the saddle and the cushion would be included. But what's the chiddush of this price? Al kamashmon, and the chiddush of the price is the afagav, the amar chamor v'kelav, v'sak v'diskav afagav, the amar chamor v'kelav. That even though he says, "I'm selling you the donkey with its kelav, with its accessories," that only refers to the saddle and the cushion, but not the things to carry. He still hasn't acquired the items used for carrying. So that's the chiddush of the brayso. That even though he says, "I'm selling to you the donkey and its utensils," that only includes the riding utensils, but not the carrying utensils. A little bit of a question, because we learned earlier, if something is already included and you say an extra phrase, it's meant to add. But here we're not adding anything. But that's something that Rishonim take up. My kumni, since we're discussing these items, what is the kumni? So Amar Papa Bar Shmuel Markavta Denashi. This is the side saddle, the way the women ride on the donkeys was they ride side saddle and they have a separate cushion to sit on. That's what the kumni is. But that would not be automatically included because it's a different type of riding than usual. So so the Gemara asked the question, the stomach of the Gemara asked the question, this dispute where the Chachamim say you have not included the items on it, and Menachem Hamadi says you have. Are we talking about a case where right now the items are actually on the donkey, and then under those circumstances, that's where the Chachamim say it's not sold? But if it's not on it, if the items happen to not be on the donkey, let's say the bag is not on the donkey, so would we say then Modu Nacham Hamadi? When Nacham Hamadi admit to the Chachamim, then it's not included in the sale. Or we say it's just the opposite. The dispute is where it's not on it, but if it's on it, then even the Chachamim would admit to Nacham Hamadi that it's included. That it's included. So where is this dispute taking place? So Tashma, let's try and learn out from the following brayso. It says in the brayso, so we're going to try and learn from the conclusion of that brayso, which we just cited above, where he says to him, I'm purchasing the donkey and everything that's on it. Then we're going to say everything is sold. So in this case, the stuff is all already on the donkey. And we're going to say that if he specifies it, it's all going to be sold. Now, if you want to say that the dispute is where it's still on it, then we're going to say who's the one where if you don't specify it's not sold? That's Rabbanan. But if you want to say that the dispute is where it's not on it, but where it's on it, everybody admits, well, then who is the one who says here it's not sold unless you specify it? How money? So who would this be? So it's a question. So therefore, we want to prove from here that the dispute is where it is still on it, and the Chum say it's only included if you specify. Gemara says no. So we could still say no. The brayso could still be referring to a case where the dispute would still be where. So we could still say the dispute is where it's not on it, and if it's on it, even the Chachamim would admit. So in this case, why do they have to specify? And it's the position of the rabbis who would say if it's on it, it's sold. But still, Ema, read the text as follows. Where he says it and everything that should be on it, even though it's not on it now, then the Chum say it's included. Okay, so we're on to the next attempt to decide this case. This is going to come from our Mishnah. Tashma Rabbi Yehuda Omer Pa'amim Mechurim and Pa'amim She'enan Mechurim. Rabbi Yehuda said the position that sometimes the utensils are sold with it and sometimes they're not. My love. So if that's the case, what is Rabbi Yehuda referring to when he says sometimes it's sold and sometimes it's not? Amar Tanakama Kai. And so Rabbi Yehuda is obviously talking about a case where the utensils are on it, because what he says this is your donkey, and as we'll see, he's referring to where the items are on it. So if that's the case, here Rabbi Yehuda is referring to what the Tanakama was referring to. As we'll see, the Gemara is going to really prove that on the next stop, that Rabbi Yehuda's case is clear where the utensils are on the items. So don't we see from here that Rabbi Yehuda is referring to this position of the Tanakama, and it's talking about where the items are on it. And so we see from here that the dispute is where the items are on the donkey. So my lab, my Tanakama Kai. Rabbi Yehuda, Gemara says no. Rabbi Yehuda Milsach Risikama. Rabbi Yehuda is talking about something entirely different. Rabbi Yehuda is speaking about a different situation. Means to say Tanakama, or on top of 78, Tanakama and Nachamamadi are disputing a case. It's possible where the items are not on the donkey. Well, from their position, we'll learn that if the utensils are on the donkey, according to both of them, then you've acquired the donkey with the utensils. And Rabbi Yehuda comes along and distinguishes that even in a situation where they're on the donkey, he's not acquired the utensils unless he says chamor chazeh. So we still haven't answered the question. So Amalei Ravino Rav Ashi Tashma. Let's prove it from our Mishnah earlier. It says Machar Sakaron. It says the earlier Mishnah back on 77b. It says if you sold a wagon, well Machar Sapredos. You have not sold the mules associated with the wagon. Mitani Rav Tachlifa Bar Marava Kamei de Rabbi Avo. Machar Sakaron, Machar Sapredos. You have sold the mules. Well Amalei Vahanan Lo Machar Tanan. We respond to that, but our Mishnah says you have not sold the mules. Well Amalei is Mayani and Rav Tachlifa said, should I delete it? And Rabbi Avo said, no. Titargim masnisach ba'adukimbo. Say that your brisa, Rav Tachlifa, is where it's attached, where the mules are attached. They're basically they're on the wagon. They call them masnisin b'she'ena dukimbo. So our mission must be talking about where they're not on it. With the reisha b'she'ena odanav. And from the fact that Mishnah, the first cause is where the items are not on it. Safe and not so our dispute here to Chacham and Rabbi and Nachum Amadi must be talking about a case where utensils are not on it as well. Mar says Adarabba, no, just the opposite. Ema Reisha. What? Go back one Mishnah before that. It says Avalo Machar was Avadim was Antiki. That if you sell your ship, you have not sold the Avadim, nor have you sold the Antiki. What are the Antiki? Varmina my antiki. What are the antiki? Amar Papa iska de bagava. It's the merchandise that's on the ship, and so that's clearly talking about a case where the utensils are on it. And from the fact that causes where the items are on it, so too the donkey with its accessories must be on it. Must be on the donkey. Ella, it can't be that causes odenolav. The next cause is ain't odenolav. So it must be Alatana mili katani. The Tana is giving different cases, and so you can't prove. So we haven't proved the case. We haven't proved an answer to the question of odenolav or ain't odenolav. So if it matters if it's on it or if it's not on it. So the simon for the next is zegem nasan. So this is a sign to remember the names of the Tanaim that we're going to be referring to. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Nassan, Sumchus, Nachum Amadi. These are 6 Tanaim. Amar Abaye says, Rabbi Eliezer, Omer, Rabbi Eliezer, Rashbag, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Nassan, Sumchus, Nachum Amadi, Kulus Furaway. All of them are the position. Kimizab Inish Midi, when a person sell something, you have a call touch mishte mizab. When you sell something, you sell with all the accessories. And we list these six Tanaim, and the Gemara is going to now prove how they all come to a position. If you sell something, you sell it with all its accessories. The post can point out, from the fact that they say that these 6 Tanaim say that, we see that everybody else doesn't say like that. And so therefore, the halacha is not like them. The halacha is that if you sell something, you haven't sold it with the accessories. These are the exception that proves the rule. And how do we prove it? So we see, this is a good review of our Masechta. Rabbi Eliezer did Tanana Mochar Beis Abad. Rabbi Eliezer, because it said in the Mishnah back on Samach Vav that if you sold a Mochar Sabayis, if you sold a Beis Abad, if you sold the olive press, Mochar Sakor, you sold the beam along with it. And Rashbag did Tanan, Rashbag Omer Mochar Sa'ir, you sold the city. Mochar as a santer, you sold the santer. We saw two positions in the Gemara. What's a santer? It's either the town clerk, or else it is like some fields around the city. Rameir, the Tanya Rameir, or Machar Sakar, Machar Tashmishi Karen. We sold accessories to the vineyard. These are the poles that hold up the grapevines. Rabbi Nasan, Vesumchos Pitzis Vidugis, that they are in the position that if you sold you sell the ship, you sold alongside it the bitzis to the dugas. These are two terms for the rowboat that takes you from the main ship to the port. And Nachum Amadi Amran, he says you sell the donkey, you sell with its utensils. Rabbi Yehuda says, it depends if you say this donkey or is this your donkey. So the Gemara asks the question, what's the difference if he says this donkey or is this your donkey? So if he's saying, I want this donkey, he knows it's that person's donkey. And the reason why he says zu is Mishum Kelev, is because he says, I want to buy this donkey because he wants to get it with its accessories. And Chamarchahu, why does he say, is this your donkey? He doesn't know if it's his donkey. Is this your donkey that you'll sell to me? And there he doesn't intend to buy the accessories, he just wants the donkeys. So now we're up to the next Mishnah. Hamocher es achamor, mocher es asiyach. One who sells a donkey has sold alongside the donkey the siyach. The siyach is the young donkey that's still nursing from the mama donkey, and that's called a siyach, or in English, a foal. Mocher es apara, if you sold the cow, well, mocher es bina, you have not sold its offspring, which is nursing. Machar ashba, if you sold the garbage, machar zibla, you sold the place where you store the manure, you sold that, but you've also sold with it the manure that's in it. Machar bor, if you sold the well, machar memel, you've sold the water associated with the well. Machar kaveris, if you sold a beehive, you've sold with it the devorim, the bees in the beehive. Machar shovach, if you sold a dovecote, machar yonim, you sold the doves in that are associated with that dovecote. Heichi dami, so the Gemara asks the question, what's the scenario here where we sell, if you sell the donkey, you sold the foal, but if you sold the cow, you have not sold the baby cow. If he says, I'm selling to you with its offspring, then obviously, afilu paro b'na nami. And even the cow you sold with her calf. And if you didn't say I'm purchasing it and its offspring, I feel chamor nami, then the donkey also should not be, the foal should not be bought with its mother. So Amar Papa, the Amar chamor menika upara menika ani mochrocha. Papa is a businessman and a great rabbi, but he also knew business. So he says, Rapapa says, he said, I'm selling you a chamor menika, a nursing donkey and a nursing cow. Now, bishlam para, now a cow, equal a maimer, you could say, why am I selling you a nursing cow? It's l'chalba. He says, because maybe you're going to want its milk, and so therefore it's worth more money. It's a milking cow. El chamor, but what's the point of saying it's a nursing donkey? Mike Amraway. What's he telling him? What does he care? It's a nursing donkey. So Shema Mina, so the chiddush is by the donkey, it means he's selling the donkey with its offspring, with its foal. Shema Mina, hiu binah. Kamraway. So now the Gemara asks the question, am I karoi siach? Why is the baby donkey, the foal, called a siach? So the Gemara answers, that it follows after soft, soothing speech. If you want to get the young donkey to move, you have to speak softly to it to inspire it. But, says Rashbam, the old donkey, the soft words don't work. With the old donkey, you got to strike it to get it. I'm not saying you should strike it. I'm just saying that's what Rashbam says. That was the way the farmers got their donkeys to move. Once it was old, they had to be rough with it. But the younger donkey, you had to speak softly. We can take from this a Musar Haskell, then if we're ever teaching people who are young children, the best way to get them to inspire them is through the soft speech, not through the harsh speech, through the positive reinforcement, but not through the harsh speech. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachman, Amar Rav Yochanan, my dechsev. So now the Gemara is going to go into a little bit of agadata because we have this idea of siach, sichana, and so therefore the Gemara is going to go into some psukim in Bamidbar. It talks about the battle of Sichon in Moab, which is seemingly irrelevant. And so the pasuk says, "Al ken yomer amoshon bo cheshbon tiban evet tikonin ir Sichon ki ish yatsa mi cheshbon le'ava mi kiryat Sichon acha ar Moab balei bamos arnon." So the Gemara is going to darshan these psukim. So it says, "Amar b'Shmuel bar Nachman Amar B'Yochanan ma'idach sev al ken yomer amoshlim." What do we do with this pasuk? So the Gemara explains. A moshlim, when it says the moshlim, really, the literal translation is the poets. But here it refers to elu amoshlim b'yitzram. These are the people who can dominate their temptation to sin. Bo cheshbon, the moshlim say before they do an action, they say, let's calculate it. Let's look at the ramifications of what we'll do. Bo v'nachshav cheshbon shel olam. Let's make the calculations of the world. Have some mitzvah connected schara avera connected afseda. The way Rashbam understands this is to mean that before you do a sin, let's say you need to go to study Torah. You say, "Oh, if I study Torah, I'm not going to be able to work for 2 hours today. So I'm going to go. I got to work. But I'm going to lose the mitzvah." So I'm going to lose all that money by studying Torah. Don't think you're losing money. Kuneged schara, calculate against your reward. Because look how much reward you're going to get in the world to come. And also schara vera kuneged afseda. Let's say you have to steal because you want to make money, and so therefore you're saying, "Oh, I'm making so much money, but I'm stealing." But look what you're losing. Look what you're giving up, and look what you're giving up. If you calculate properly your actions, then you'll build in this world and you'll be strengthened in the world to come. So the Gemara says, Ir Sichon, what do we do from that? It may seem, again, we're not darshaning it literally because why would the Torah be talking to us about a battle between Sichon and Moab? So Ir Sichon, it may siach Adam atzmo ka'ayar zeh shemalach achar sichanar. A person makes himself like a young baby horse that follows after soothing speech, but here it's negative that you follow your yetzer to sin. What will happen? Just like fire will come out from cheshbon. The fire will come out from the mechashvin, those who calculate properly, the tzaddikim, and will consume those who are not calculating. And a flame will come out from the city of Sichon. What does that mean? It will come out from the city of the righteous. They're called Sichon. That refers to trees. Achla ar Moab. Again, this repeats what we said before, that this, what does it mean? Fire went out to consume Moab. This refers to somebody who follows after his temptation, like this baby horse that follows after a small speech. But the fire will come out and burn him. Balei bamos are known. That what is, and it will consume the balei bamos are known. This refers to the gasei aruach. The fires of hell will come out and burn the arrogant ones, who are arrogant, like their spirit is haughty, like the bamot of Arnon. The Amar Mar kol adam sheish bo gasei aruach nofel bebanim. Whoever has arrogance will fall into hell. V'niram Amar Rasha. If the wicked one says Ein Ram, there's nobody who's exalted, there's no God. Avad cheshbon. Well, then Avad cheshbono shel olam. Let's say he says the one who calculates the whole world has perished. There's no God. Ad tivon. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says Hamtein ad sheyavo din. Just wait until we judge him. V'nashim anofach. What does that mean? Nashim anofach. A very fierce fire will come that doesn't even need to be blown. It will come on its own. Until their souls are in distress. And some say until HaKadosh Baruch Hu does to them until God Hashem does to them that which He wants to do in the world to come. Amar Yehuda Marav Kol Porish Midivrei Torah. Whoever separates from the words of Torah, fire will consume him, as it states, "V'nasati es panai ba'em, v'ha'ish yatzal v'ha'ish tochoim." Since he separated himself from Torah, it says, "My words are like fire." Therefore, the fire they went out from fire. The fire will consume him. Whoever separates himself from Torah will fall into hell. As it states, Adam toeh miderech haskel, a person goes away from the righteous path or the smart path. Bekahal Rephaim yanu chorest and Rephaim. Rephaim el Gehenim. Rephaim is Gehenim, as it says, V'lo yada ki Rephaim sham. It says they did not realize that there was Rephaim, the imke Sha'ol Kara, the depths of Sha'ol, we called out to it. So we see from here that Rephaim is Gehenim, and somebody who separates from the Torah will end up in Gehenim. So God willing, we should continue to study Torah, to be strong, and that's today's daf. If anybody has any questions, happy to address.